in her place. Look at that. Look at that. Twice in a row, the magic trick has worked. Through the magic of technology, we have completely transformed the stage. So with that, Kate, I don't know that you need an introduction with this group. The Kate chant was rolling. Let's get some emojis going for Kate, who is going to, Kate, why don't we, you do your introduction. Kate, tell us a little bit about who you are and why I also am curious, what made you decide to do the event today?
Well, actually, this event is devoted to the 7Tap's very first birthday. So we are here to celebrate our first year on the e-learning market. So let's
All right.
have some cheers and some positive vibes.
Well, that's worth some cheers of emojis, which are all flying in, by the way. So happy birthday, 7Taps. And again, I don't think you need any more introductions. So I'll let you, I'm gonna disappear unless you call back on me and let you do your thing. And you just let me know when you need me back.
Okay, sure. So hey everyone, once again, and in case someone doesn't know me, let me introduce myself quickly. I hope you can see my slide right now. So I'm a passionate L&D professional, and right now I'll put my LinkedIn profile in the chat so everyone can reach out and connect because I'm really open for being connected with Microlearning Fellows. Thanks for joining my session. Thanks for joining this gathering today. So who I am? I am a founder and chief product officer of 7Taps. I'm on the adventure of building my own company, and I'm a huge fan of microlearning, and I have a deep interest in e-learning technologies. When thinking about what to present today, I thought that actually I talk to our clients a lot, and as a founder, I understand that one of the questions people ask about most often is linked to driving and addressing business needs with microlearning. So I decided to take a look at this topic closer and share some real-life use cases and perhaps inspire someone to start using this approach, or maybe let you think of some another scenarios you might introduce this approach within. So let's start. First of all, knowing when to and when not to use microlearning actually begins with the thorough needs assessment. And we'll be addressing this slide. Oh, I'm sorry, I switched it. So we'll be addressing these slides throughout my whole presentation. And I guess this is the main point to start thinking of introducing microlearning. What's your problem? What's the problem your company is facing? Or perhaps you want to prevent some problems with microlearning experiences. What do you want to achieve? What's your measurable learning objectives? Who you are targeting? What are their needs actually? And what's the most important thing about microlearning experiences, I guess, is what context will be there when your learners will need your microlearning experiences, when they will refer to such type of content. What technology will be available to your learners at that very moment, and what type of content you might deliver to feed that context and to feed that technology, and how do you evaluate that result afterwards. This list of questions might be extended depending on the use case, but that's definitely a good place to start, and that's definitely will help you to drive your business needs more effectively. Speaking about some general guidelines, I don't want to repeat the previous speakers, just will touch on the very high level. The first one, the most common scenario is when you use microlearning for introduction and reinforcement. What you can do, you can deliver some warm-ups and deliver them before training sessions. You know, like having some coffee in the morning to get your brain cells active. Or you can deliver some prompts and reminders between training sessions. It makes sense when your course is long over a period of time. Or you can create some follow-ups and reminders and thus reinforce what's been taught. A couple of weeks ago, we've run a kind of a research about how our users utilize 7-taps, and we found out that the reinforcement scenario is one of the most common, and it takes about 40% out of all the use cases. Actually, there's no surprise for me. Just take a look at this slide. Here you can see an example of a memory retention curve affected by repetition over time. So reinforcement hugely improves knowledge retention. And another important thing here is that it really helps to diversify the learning experience. By the way, next week we are at 7-taps introducing spaced learning feature, and it will help you to create a sequence of 7-taps pieces, then set a time, set some intervals, and deliver this content in a sequence. So it will leverage this spaced repetition effect. And as for the reinforcement, actually, it's not only training sessions that might be enhanced with microlearning approach. You can think of any material, any content that conventionally is perceived as long and boring. And I have a short story to tell you. One of our clients, actually that's an equipment company, uses 7-taps for safety purposes. What they do, they create 7-taps summaries, and they put that summaries at the bottom of their standard operating procedures documentation, so that their employees can scan it very quickly just with their smartphones, can quickly go through it, and that's all, instead of reading a real long and sometimes boring file. At least it will help them to recall the basic concepts, right? Also, due to the nature of microlearning, it lends itself easily to what we call just-in-time learning. Just-in-time learning pieces might be presented in various formats. Think of videos, infographics, images, PDFs, or 7-taps pieces, or podcast series. We're really spoiled for choice these days. But what I'd love really to pay your attention here is how such content could be organized. First of all, it could be a resource library. Think of a library composed of small bits of very, very targeted information. For example, it could be a library of frequently asked customer questions, and your sales manager can turn to this library anytime and can get some technologies, how, for example, to reply to the angry customer. Or it could be a library of, restaurant standard operating procedures, and your waiter can turn to it anytime. What microlearning does here, right? What's the effect? Actually, it helps to remove the pressure from your employees to memorize every single action. They just know that they have kind of a library they can resort to when they need it, and then they can just get back to their work immediately. You can create some standalone bytes that, again, help to achieve a very, very specific outcome. They're very targeted. It can be used almost for any knowledge delivery process in your organization. For example, for the onboarding process, during some product training, during some sales training, or anything you can think of, just except of some really complicated technical concepts. For that scenario, 7-taps and microlearning are definitely not recommended. And as for the standalone bytes, the best advice here is to place them somewhere your learner, your receiver might need them, or deliver them right in the moment your learners might need them. Let me show you a great example that will illustrate it. At one of my previous consulting projects, previously I worked for L&D consulting company, and it happened in the good old days when everyone used to go to their offices for work. One client complained about the inefficient use of their employees' time. One of the reasons for that, as we found it out, was in a lack of knowledge on how to run really effective and productive meetings. Because people really spent ages just sitting in the meeting rooms and chatting and doing nothing. So what we did, we created a very nice and practical instructions on how to run effective and productive meetings. There were a series of eye-catching banners. They were placed literally in the meeting rooms. And this small detail, right, it sounds like a very small detail, turned to be incredibly helpful. Why? Because people started looking at it during every meeting. They just started following these rules and started saving their time. And as a result, their meetings turned to be more productive. And by the way, what I'd love to pay your attention again here is that this example shows that microlearning does not necessarily require technology. It can be a banner that is somewhere in your meeting room, right? So start with the needs assessment. Just think of the context, imagine it. Imagine where your learners will consume such information and let that decision drive your delivery options. Also, microlearning might be helpful in hiring operations. Actually, one of our clients, I hope that she will join my session in the end. I'm not sure, so I will just share a few words about this use case. What they do, they prepare their candidates for the job interviews using some microlearning pieces created in 7 Tabs. They actually introduce their company. They put together some information about the upcoming hiring procedures. And I really love this case because at the end of the day, hiring process is not only about a candidate who sells their skill set, who sells their experience to a company, right? It's a two-sided process, and a company should generate a good impression too. So according to the client's feedback, after embracing this microlearning approach, they noticed that candidates comes into the process more prepared. It helped them to cut down the amount of questions they have during screening calls, and they consider it as a win, and I consider it as a win too. Or another great example, you can quickly create and deliver some bytes to support some HR activities or internal communications. For example, on this slide, you can see some cards that are focused on the upcoming corporate offsite event. They included some agenda, some safety instructions, some travel tips, and your employees will have it right on their smartphones, whatever they need. And that's really a nice way to keep your people on the same page, to keep everyone engaged, and you can update the information just in a snap without uploading it on any learning management system. And in the same way, actually, I've seen such questions for the previous speakers. You can deliver some content for diversity, equity, and inclusion concepts as well. It's easy as that. And actually, it's not only about employees who can be your kind of a micro-learners, because microlearning is a great solution to keep your customers engaged too. Frankly, when we launched 7 Tabs a year ago, we didn't think that it would be used by marketing specialists. That was not the plan, definitely. And we were really surprised to understand, to realize that some of our clients, and according to the latest data, now it's up to 20% of them, they use 7 Tabs to create some customer-facing, I call them micro landing pages. So we decided to explore this case because it sounded really interesting, and we talked to that users, and they told us that typically when you need to explain something to your customer, what would you do? You would build some landing page or some web page, and when you are building it, you are always struggling for your users, for your customers' attention. People really, marketing specialists, spend lots of time on playing with headlines, with some bullet points, with some wording, with placing some pictures in the right order. But actually, you never know how your customer, how your visitor will consume this message. You can only predict. And as opposed to that, 7 tabs pieces, 7 tabs kind of a microlearning pages are a very straightforward way to deliver your message and literally to guide your customers' attention from one code to another, from one concept to another, from one message to another. And there is a very, very slight chance for your learner, for your customer to get distracted afterwards. Just try to keep it short and simple and concise. And that's exactly what people in marketing and in sales departments love about 7 tabs. And as for the concrete example, how people use 7 tabs in the marketing, they may roll out some new features, some new products, some new services in the company of some microlearning bites, or they can deliver some quick instructions and some answers to the customer's question. And at the end of the day, it's just the same, just-in-time learning, only for your customers, not for your employees. As for the concrete example, on my slide, you can see the real scenario when a company used 7 tabs for communication with their customers. This particular piece was created by the marketing department team. And as you can see, they present some security awareness tips for SMBs. Also, this is just another use case. I know that Karthik Richard is here in the chat. I'm sending you some virtual hacks for helping to come up with this slide today. As for microlearning pieces and as for 7 tabs in particular, you may also reach out to the wider audience, not just your customers or employees. Just take a look at the case that is presented on my slide. Actually, you can take your phone right now and you can scan the QR code and you can access the course. We're really proud and honored to have such a client. It's the case study by European Hematology Association. This concrete example is one of the series of the so-called QR cases. And as for the creator, as for the Karthik, he told me that this is a great opportunity to provide learner experience without dragging people into your own LMS. Thus, you can reach out to wider audience. It makes discussions, it makes sharing easy, and you're just not restricted to the members of your community only. These QR cases, like case studies in any other field, are a great way to learn from the experience of others. Your learners can do these cases in just 5-10 minutes as they're scrolling through their social media. And if they want to get more information, they can just dive into exploring it in some e-learning content, in some podcasts. As for the Hematology Association, they have their own LMS. I'm getting some messages, but I unfortunately do not track of them. Hope there's nothing very important here, so I can proceed. And you know, sometimes it makes sense to learn from bad examples, and it might be even more enlightening rather than following some good advices. Actually, I've seen lots of bad examples of embracing and delivering microlearning experiences, but good news here is that you might solve all these kind of bad examples with just that thorough needs assessment theme that we've discussed in the very beginning of my presentation. Let's dive into the first example. Actually, there was a company that decided to create a bunch of very short and targeted high-quality videos for their salespeople. Those videos were targeted on delivering some things on promoting the features of the product, promoting their products and their benefits. And actually, it might sound reasonable, but in fact, it was not so. Why? Because this audience spends the majority of their time in their cars. Are they watching videos while being in their cars? I hope not so. So here comes, again, our needs assessment. Who is your end user? Where will they access the content? In which scenario? And what technology is more appropriate to them? Because at the end of the day, they don't need to watch this information. They don't need to watch those videos. They just need to grasp the concept, and they can do it very well by listening to it too, right? So it would have made more sense if the creators of such content would choose recording some podcasts, right? Another great example, and it also highlights a bit the delivery method, is about a company that decided to create some video-based pieces for their new employees onboarding process. They invested literally tons of efforts, tons of money and time and nerves on filming. And what they found out? They found out that while watching those videos, the employees just screenshotted the main information that was presented during the very first seconds of that videos, because it was more convenient for them to have those images uploaded in their smartphones that they could access quickly anytime rather than watching the whole video. And I highlight here that the delivery method was absolutely okay, absolutely correct. It was delivering your content via smartphones. But as for the type of content, actually it was not relevant. And L&D department would really save lots of money and time just creating some series of cards or, I don't know, infographics or PDFs, just trying to deliver the same information. As we discussed during the previous session, previous presentation, quick prototyping would really help here. And the last example I'd love to show you. Actually, it's one of my favorite one because this is a real story from a good friend of mine. And it pinpoints that microlearning is not only about short and bite-sized information, and it's not only about targeting the very specific outcome. It's also about the speed your learner can access the information. It doesn't make sense to spend your precious minutes or seconds sometimes when you need just to grab the very quick technology or some very short information and get back to your work immediately. So as for the story, this is probably one of the most common mistakes when creating microlearning. The girl faced really unexpected and unwelcome problems with her corporate tool. And at that moment, she was talking to the very important client. So just imagine the situation was really intense. She managed to access their corporate library, and she even managed to find the exact piece of content on how to deal with that situation, how to solve that issue. She enthusiastically opened it, and what she found out? That she found out that it's absolutely useless. Why? Because she had just to access the information to understand what she needs to do. She had to scratch some points to reveal something. She had to, drag and drop some missing words, and she had to match visual elements with the wording. So technically, that content was very short and it was very targeted, but it was so excessively interactive that it made this content actually useless. And the person actually closed it, got annoyed, and she had to deal with that problem on herself. So again, as we've discussed it previously, reinforcement is the key part of the learning experience. And let's take a look at this slide again. What's the problem your company is facing? What you want to achieve with your microlearning experiences? Who you are targeting? Who are they? What do they need actually? And in what context will they refer to your content? Will be they in the cars, or will be they sitting in the meeting room and just perhaps they will be talking to some angry customers and they will need your information ASAP, and they won't have any time to drag and drop and to scratch something on their smartphones or on their laptops. What content do you need? What technology is available to your learners? And how you can evaluate the result afterwards. All in all, microlearning is definitely a good solution when applied reasonably. So apply it for boosting knowledge retention, for reinforcement, for delivering some just-in-time learning. And make sure your microlearning pieces are not only short in size, but also they are relevant to the context, they are accessible, and they will help your learners to achieve a very specific outcome, to help them solve some problems. So having said that, thank you so much for your attention. I'm open to chatting. Here's my personal email. You can reach out to me with any question about microlearning or 7-Taps. I'm happy to help. Everyone knows that I'm very friendly and I'm open to communication. And that's all. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Perfect. All right, Kate. Well, let's see some more emojis from this. Come on, everybody. Let's see them. They've been flying throughout. So, Kate, I think one of the things that was really kind of insightful on your point, I think this is an important point to take back as learning professionals, is there's opportunity where sometimes we can get into this little bit of a war over, well, that's not training, that's communication. And honestly, what might be communication to one person may be helpful in their development for someone else. And I think sometimes being able to use technology to democratize and speed up the way we create content and just make it available to people, it's not worth battling over some of these things. Because to your point, and I saw, for those of you who haven't seen the agenda, we've got a bit of a shift in an agenda. Meredith had a family emergency situation. She won't be able to be here. So we're actually going to jump right to Meredith can't be here. I'm making sure I got the names right. Amanda she's going to join right after. But some of Meredith's courses where they've used this, it wasn't necessarily a learning intervention. It was designed as part of a change management initiative. How do we help new hires orient themselves to things? How do we provide some of these resources to folks? And, if you're not involved in the broader talent management discussions, these are all really big issues in an organization that we face. So I think, this whole concept of micro learning or micro content is not necessarily just that. So anyway, anything else you would add to that?
Well, actually, I'm out of energy, but I guess there were some great questions during my speech, and so perhaps we might pick up something and answer. Not so, no questions. So many.
You know what they are, but good luck trying to scroll back through everything and doing all that, because honestly, you good luck with that. You can do that. You can do that after this. So in terms of the Q&A, Kate, what I'm going to do, we're going to do one more magic trick because we're running tight on time, and I am very much about time, which is amazing because with 6 kids, we're never on time. But what I'm going to do is, again, this is going to be a magic trick again. We're going to go backstage, not backstage. I mean, she's going to disappear. And then when we come back, Amanda's going to be, Gideon, can you do a little bit of like magic fanfare for us, please? I don't have the
a bit of magic. What? I missed that.
Fanfare. Again, here we go with the fanfare. Like, I don't know. I don't know the movements.
It's all right. Well, Kate, you mind if I do something with you? I mean, it was so nice. I think
let's do it.
I mean, everybody, I told you, I don't think you guys gave Kate enough emojis.
I don't either.
I think she deserves more. So I brought some with me. Okay, so I brought some emojis. These are emojis for Kate. This is a knife from earlier. Wait, let me see if I get this. Oh yeah, I hit my camera earlier. All right. So I brought some emojis here with me, and I'm going to try to do something for you. And of course, the frame got cut off. So let me see how I can fix it for you. There we go.
We can see it. We're good.
You can see it. You can see like this. These are like the Facebook reactions. We have the like, the heart, and the laugh out loud, and the crying and the angry. So, Kate, this one is for you. And I think I want to see if we're in sync, okay? Because I arranged these emojis in a very specific order, and I have their matching emojis. And I do not want you to see this, okay? Because this is a little surprise. I'm going to mix them up. By the way, this is not a pre-recorded video. This is live completely. And I'm going... all right. So some people think it's a pre-recorded video. Nate,
I can see that. I can see somebody being like, "Oh yeah, I hear you're just doing this."
No, it's me.
I know. I see it. I get it.
So
I get it.
Just to prove it, Kate, can you name any number between 1 and 5?
2.
You see, so because you said 2, I can do 2. So it's not pre-recorded, even though everybody says 2, but never mind. So here you get to choose. And I want you to go with your gut feeling. Do you think this one is belonging to the like or the heart or the what? Which one do you think? Where do you think it goes?
It's angry. The
It's
last one.
angry. I hope it's not a criticism of my performance so far. I hope you enjoyed the show more, and I hope it was
So
a
she
random
didn't say
decision.
she's angry. She didn't say she's
I hope-
angry. She said it's
Yeah.
angry.
All right. So let's see. Where do you think this one goes?
It's love.
It's love. Now you're kind of trying to make up for the. Okay, I get it. And this one,
Float, the first one.
the like.
Yep.
Okay, and this one,
Let it be smiling, laughing out loud. The third one.
the laughing out loud. Now the last one is a bit of a bummer because it's like we don't have any left, so it has to go here, and you're kind of like robbed of your last decision. So I want to give you one last decision. And I'm going to give you a chance to switch any two. Now, you don't have to take it. And every time a magician tells you if you want to change your mind, you don't know if he really wants you to change your mind, so it would be better for him, or if he's like reverse psychologing you and to kind of lock you in not to change your mind. So forget about that. If you do not want to change your mind, just remember that you could. And if
I'm
you
a
do
girl.
change your mind,
I will change
you
my
didn't
mind.
have
I'm
to.
a girl.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I will switch the first one and the last one.
The angry and the like. So like this. And I'm very, very happy that you did, Kate, because if you were to switch this one, it would not work. If you were to switch this one, it would not work. If you switch this one, it would not work. But these two are exactly the ones that we needed to switch. So thank you so much for
Let's
changing
get a
your
round
mind.
of emoji applause for that one. Let's do
Lots
some
of emojis for you, and I'll go back
Lots
to
of
being me now.
emojis. All the emojis. Awesome. All right, so we're gonna stop for 1 second to do some other magic in terms of guess, and then we will be back in like 30 seconds. So here we go.